I'm having a nervous breakdown, and you're all invited. Hello, my little bananas. I just thought I'd pop in and invite you to what I've been up to and share a few thoughts with you as we approach the third month of the year. Well, we're well into it, aren't we? As we approach the first quarter of the year. And I found it kind of wishy-washy at the start. I don't think my head was in the game as such. And then things picked up. A few little projects close to home that have been special on the voiceover front were the Shackleton Experience. I think it's a new exhibition down in Athy, County Kildare. Did you know Ernest Shackleton, I think, was born in Kildare? And then the Illusionarium as well. As well, of course, as all the top of the morning and the bottom of the evening till you strap me to a pig and roll me in the mud. St. Patrick's diddly-diddle crap that comes your way at this time of the year. I've gone cold on that. I tend to leave that to other people if I can help it. But even right now, there's something due in a minute and I'll have a look at it. Yeah, so it's a crazy kind of world we're living in at the moment. Luckily, I've got some sun organised just around the corner. That's if the airspace is clear. I saw a production the other day and it was online, so it was a live stream. And I don't mean to gloat or mock or make fun of. I just want to just tell you about this clusterfuck, right? And the reason I don't want to is the host in charge of the live stream. I happen to be in agreement with him on quite a few things. So essentially the setup was, and set being the operative word, he had a nice set, okay? And he had some guests lined up. And the set was pretty much as good as anything you're going to see on any of the mainstream stations, you know. And this is getting more and more prominent all the time online. Long-form interviews, etc. Without your kind of standard government slant on things or propaganda, if you wish, on a smaller scale. So, you know, people want a voice and the internet's giving it to them. So I get that. And you probably do as well. And as I said, it's becoming more and more popular. But I do think you have to be careful somewhat with production values. So the guy has what looks like a really good set, as good as anything else. Like the backdrop is really good. It's a picture of him looking very pensive. And he has got 3 guests lined up, okay? Now, the desk he was interviewing at was kind of like a conference room desk. And that was fair enough, but it was just the order in which things happened. So he had guests. Nobody had really dressed for the occasion. That has got to be said, right? So they weren't knocking anybody over sartorially. And they were very ordinary people, which is probably what it's about as well. There was no affectation or anything. They were just sound people. So his first guest came on, shuffled on, and, you know, that was an interview. The other thing was they had the little lapel mics. I'm going to get some myself, actually. Just some really nice wireless ones. And he had a good brand of lapel mic. But really, in the setup he had, I think you needed desktop mics. You really did, you know, for the few dollars more kind of thing, just to stop what happened next. So because the mics were in short supply, he had one for him and one for the guest. So when the first guest finished, I was saying to myself, I know what's going to happen here. Whoever was in charge of production didn't pull down the fader, so what you heard was yeah, over there, yeah. Essentially the Elephant Man going through a car wash backwards, all right? So that could have been avoided by just pulling down the fader for a while, but I'm beginning to think that maybe the main presenter's mic was on the same fader. Sorry if I'm losing any of you guys technically. So maybe that's why they left it up, because he had to keep the show going while the guests were swapped. The second guest came on. Looked like he'd been dragged through a hedge. And he was very good, hugely articulate. But as he emphasised the point, he actually farted, right? And you could hear it. It was a real gusset scorcher special. It was a whoop. And he noticed. He continued on regardless. What else can you do? He was mortified. And the presenter sure as hell noticed, because it registered very, very quickly. So much so, within about 15 seconds, he was doing that with his hand. All right. Guest number 3 came on, and she was a lady of cake baking years, and there's no other way of putting it. She just had a very big arse, right? And it was oh, God. Yeah, there was like a pattern to her dress, which emphasised her fat arse. So it needed its own postcode, basically. And it got right into camera shot as she was shuffling in. As I said, they were doing musical chairs, So this big arse just took up the screen. And she again, to be fair, was very, very, very good and articulate to what she said. But then the final... Pièce de resistance, was they all kind of clustered in, the 3 guests together, to give a kind of in the round, if you like, impression. And then I noticed the lady, when she'd go to talk, she was doing this, and she had, you remember those, well, a lot of you won't, but Terry Wogan's blankety blank mic, right? It seemed to be like, I thought to myself, where's that little mic coming from? And then she'd give it, someone else would be speaking and she'd put it in their face, or she'd even pass it to them. I suddenly realised what it was. It was actually a wooden spoon. And what they had done was they had taped the wireless mic, or they'd clipped it on to the top. It took from the whole production, which, as I said at the beginning, was actually quite good and quite well intentioned. It just shows you the small little details, I kept thinking to myself, how many people are losing the message here by being intrigued with farts, big bums, and wooden spoons? Who could ask for more? Take care, 'cause I care. May your life be filled with unexpected and beautiful things. See, I'm dubbing here.